for today is actually very interesting. It's one of my favorite. And this is how to generate AI art applications using DALL-E, which is another API from the OpenAI, right? So far we only talked about the ChatGPT API that can generate text, right? And now we're also going to talk about an API that can generate images. And today we're not only going to generate images, but also we will actually, let me go to the next slide. Okay. So not only this, but also we're going to integrate DALL-E with PowerPoint. So you're going to learn the PowerPoint Python package as well, and we'll integrate them so you will be able to generate different slides for PowerPoint using the images from DALL-E and text from the ChatGPT API. Okay, so before starting the application, let's first talk a little bit about DALL-E. So how many of you have used DALL-E so far? None of you. Okay, good. So you're going to learn something completely new. Now, first of all, you don't need to be a programmer to use DALL-E. You can simply go to, I think it's openai.com/DALL-E, and there you can just write a prompt. So show me a dog that's walking on Mars, eating a lollipop or something like this, and this is what you're going to get, right? Usually you get a few variations of the images that you asked DALL-E to generate, okay? And you're getting the image that you asked for. So this is what you can do on the OpenAI website. Now, of course, in the same way like ChatGPT, if you want to use DALL-E and build applications with DALL-E, you need to use the DALL-E API, which works in the same way. It's just that in this case, you need to write a very small function in Python, which you're going to learn today. Okay, and you can see the example there. So an armchair in the shape of avocado, and this is what you get. Recently, a few months ago, they also released DALL-E 3, which is a newer version, and the images from there, I tested it a few days ago, are with way better quality comparing to DALL-E 2. So there's a lot of improvement there, right? Okay. Okay, and as I said, we're going to integrate DALL-E with the PowerPoint Python library, which is called Python-pptx. Okay, we're going to install that, and here you can see a very simple way of how you can create presentation inside Python in automated way. Okay, so you have a new presentation equal to a presentation object. Okay, and also here this is how you can create a new slide and so on. And then after you create a slide, you can add it to presentation. In the same way, you can add images and text to your new slides. Okay, and in our case, the images and the text are going to come from AI. Actually, in the past, maybe a few years ago, Microsoft also released an AI that generates presentations. I've used that, so I know the quality of the presentations they were creating back then, and the graphics were not very good. Okay, so what I mean is, if at some point you decide, okay, I want to start a company, create presentations using PowerPoint and OpenAI APIs, this can be actually a profitable business, because Microsoft currently don't have this quality of presentations generated with AI. It's just an idea, okay? Obviously, from Microsoft, they don't want to use a third-party API, right? They want to create the models themselves, so this is why they don't implement it. Okay? Now, let's see how is our project going to work. Okay, so First of all, the prompts for DALL-E, so the text that you need to send to DALL-E to generate an image, it's in a slightly different format comparing to the text that you send to the ChatGPT API, right? If you send a text to DALL-E to generate an image, it needs to be a sentence that is precise. For example, you cannot send a full essay to DALL-E and expect from it to generate the image that you expect. For that reason, we will have to, so the idea is that we're going to send a text to our application, a big text, and for each paragraph, our application is going to create a slide in our presentation. If we have 10 paragraphs, we're going to create 10 slides. So because we don't want to send the full paragraph to DALL-E to generate an image, firstly, we're going to send the paragraph to ChatGPT and we'll ask ChatGPT to generate a small DALL-E prompt. After we do that, we're going to send this prompt to DALL-E, and this is how we're going to generate the images. So this is a good strategy where you can use two artificial intelligence API and use the power of both of them to create quality images. Okay, and this is just an example. So here, if you want to create an image of a jellyfish, let's say we have a text about jellyfishes, we can ask DALL-E to generate the image and then pass it to our presentation. Okay, so this is the idea for today. Come in, and now we can just start creating the application. Today I'm not going to focus too much on the design of the application like last time. Today we're going to focus more on functionality. Our application is going to be pretty much a text field with a run button, and that's all. The rest is going to be in the backend. So as we already talked in the last class, since we're creating a desktop application, we don't have separate files for the front and backend. Everything is going to be on the same file, which is going to be more simple for you guys. Okay? All right. So let's open PyCharm, start a new project like every time, and then I will show you the steps that you need to take to create your application. Okay. Any questions for our plan for today? I mean, obviously you don't know, but she will tell you, right? Okay. Any questions? Okay. So assume you understood our idea. Now we can put it to work, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go quick through those steps. Obviously, we create a new PyCharm project. I will call it DALL-E underscore app. You can call it how you like. And then I will create it. Okay. And here in the main file, we'll write our code. Now, for our application to work, today we're not only going to install the OpenAI library, but there are a few other libraries which we need to install so our project works properly. Okay. Can you see it actually? I don't think you'll be able to see very good. Is that better? Okay, so once you create your project, here are the libraries that you need to install. So firstly, obviously, OpenAI. So pipe install OpenAI. Then I will install requests. So I'll do pipe install requests. Okay, and then we also need to install the PowerPoint library. So pipe install python-pptx. All right. So once we have the libraries, I'll first do all the imports, so we don't need to think about them, and then I will just set up the API key, just like we always do. So I will do import collections.abc, then also I will import tkinter, so I will do import tkinter as tk. And who can tell me what we're going to do with the tkinter? Do you remember from last time what we used it for? The GUI, yeah. So this is the GUI for our application, yeah, correct. Okay, good. Then I will do from pptx import presentation. Okay. Then from pptx.util we will import inches and pt. Then from OpenAI we will import OpenAI. Then from IO we will import bytes IO, and we'll also import requests. Oops, requests. That's it. So just a quick summary. The tkinter, as we said, we're going to use it to create the application. Presentation, we'll use it to create a new presentation object. So this is how we'll create a presentation file. The inches and the pt we're going to use to size our presentation components when putting them on the presentation. OpenAI, I think this is clear. Bytes, IO, we're going to use to convert our image because we're going to get the image into bytes and we want to put it to our presentation as an image, right? So we're going to use this library to pass the image to the PowerPoint presentation. Okay. Okay, so after we're done with that, another standard step, just passing the API key. So I'll create a new Python file, config. Okay, I'll pass here API key equals, and then I just need to copy the API key from Blackboard. Okay, so I go to Blackboard, and here's our API key. Okay, so once we're done with that, the next standard step is to create our client. So client equals to OpenAI, and here we're going to pass our API key from the config file. So I'll actually import config as well, and I write here config.api key. Okay, so once we have all the imports and all the installations, the next thing I will do is just create a very basic TK Inter application. Okay, so I will do app equals tk.tk, and then I will do app.title, and the title will be create PPT slides. So I'll do create PPT slides. Okay. I will also set app geometry. So I will do app.geometry. This will be the size of our application. So we'll do 800 by 600. Okay. And after that, I will start the main loop of the application. Okay. Okay, it works. All right. So now I will leave you to complete those steps, and we all need to make sure that once you select the play button, your application launches. You need to see just an empty window with the text create PPT slides. Okay, so for those of you that for some reason don't have, let's say, Python installed, or something doesn't work on your computer, right? I found another way that you can run the code inside the lab computers. It's not the best way, but it works. So let me just switch to show you. Okay, so if you want to run the code in lab computer, you can use the Python IDLE, right? And just so since here we use only one file, you can just create the app.py file and write the code there. Okay. One thing that you will need to do is just open a terminal. So you can go here and write terminal. So open command prompt, and from here install the libraries. They will get installed in the computer, not in the specific project, but it will still work. Okay, so here you can do, let's say, pipe install OpenAI. Okay. Okay, and it will get installed in your computer. The same you can do with the rest of the libraries. Okay, the requests, the Python PPTX library, you can install them in the computer, and after that you can simply create the app.py file, and open it with the IDLE, right? Edit with IDLE, and then you can edit the file. The disadvantages are going to be that you don't have an editor which is going to suggest the code you write, okay? And also you should be very careful with the indentation levels, right? So you always need to make sure that you press the tab if you want to write within a function. Okay, just a heads up if there are any issues. Okay. Okay. So do you see the application? I mean, are you able to see the window? Okay, so once we have our application created, so we have the basic window, the last step that I'm going to do as it concerns our application is simply to create a text field there. Okay, so here's how we do that. So I'll create a new variable called text field that will be equal to tk.text. And here in the parentheses I will place app. Okay, this will create a new text field. So now I'm just going to add some attributes to this field, like what is going to be the font. When we resize the window, we also want to resize the text field, obviously, so we're gonna add that. So I will do text field dot pack, and then I will do fill equals bold. Okay, and expand equals true. Okay, so it's expandable, and we can extend both sides of the field, like I mean vertical and horizontal. Okay, then let's do again text field dot configure, and here we'll do wrap word, and then I'm going to specify also the font here, so it's going to be Arial, and the size of the letters is going to be 12. That's it. And finally I will do text field dot focus set. Okay, so once text field is created, we just need to create the button that we click, right? So I will do create button equals to tk dot button, and when we create a new element inside, we need to put the app, then we'll put the text that we will see in the button. So it's going to be create slides. Okay, and finally, this is of course the most important part of our button. We need to connect our button to a function, right? So when we click the button will activate a function in our backend, in which function we will have implemented the ChatGPT API and the DALL-E. Okay, so I'll write here command equals to get slides, and here I will get an error just because this function is not created yet, but in the next step we're going to create it, so the error will disappear. Okay, and finally I will do create button dot pack. Okay. And this is how our front end is going to look like. The rest is going to be just creating the backend functions. Okay. So now just above the app here, I will create this function get slides. So I will do def get slides, and then here initially I'll write pass. Now I'll just try to run it. Oops, I got an error. Let's see. Okay. Command. Okay. Alright, so now once you run your application, okay, you should see the text field right here, and also you should see the button create slides. So if I click the button, obviously nothing will happen because the function get slides doesn't have any functionality implemented inside yet. Okay. Have you all got all this? Okay. Okay, so now in the get slides function, we will create the functionality for creating the presentation and creating the slides. The idea is that for every paragraph in our text field, we're going to create one slide. So the idea is that we extract the text, we separate it in paragraphs, and for each paragraph we generate slides. So we use the DALL-E API to generate a slide. And to be our code more structured, inside the get slides, we will generate the presentation and the slides. And then in another function, we will call it slide generator. We will actually use the AI. So we have those two functionalities separated. Okay. So let's do that. Now, firstly, here I'll create a new variable called text. So let's do text equals, and we're going to extract the information from the text field on our application. So the user puts text in the text field, presses the submit button, the create slides button, and after that the text is getting passed to this variable here. So I will do text field dot get, okay, and here I will write how the text is going to be deserialized. 1.0, and we're going to take the text until the end, so I will do end dash 1c. Okay. Now we also want to take the paragraphs, right? So to do that, we will split the text. We'll use a split command to separate the paragraphs in a Python list. Okay, so I will do paragraphs equals to text dot split, okay, and we're going to split on a new line. So this is why I'm writing this here. So on every new line, we're going to put a new entry in our paragraphs list, and then from those paragraphs we'll create our slides. So let's do an experiment. So if I do print paragraphs, okay, let's see what we're gonna get. So can somebody give me an idea for text? What topic do you want to put in the app? Any topic that we can get maybe from Wikipedia, something like this. I don't know. What do you think?
Soccer.
Which one?
Sora.
Sora?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there is that much information, right?
Yeah.
Let's do something that is a little bit more basic, so it performs good. Anything else?
Climate change.
Okay, good. Climate change. Let's do that. So let me go to Wikipedia. Let's grab 3 paragraphs for the climate change, and let's run the application. Let's paste the paragraphs and let's click create slides. Okay. Now what we expect to see is a list of the 3 paragraphs separated. So here's our list. I printed it. Okay, and actually let me print it another way. For parent paragraphs, print paragraph. Okay. So this is just an experiment, okay? Now let's do create slides, and you can see, so this is what we are expecting to see. Now we print every element of the paragraphs list, and you can see that we have 3 elements, right? So the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the third paragraph. Okay, so this means that now we have a list, and in separated places in our list we have each paragraph. and this is good. This means now we can loop over those paragraphs, and for each one of them we can create a slide. Okay, so I'm actually going to put this down here since we're going to do something similar later. And now, so since we have our paragraphs, the next step would be to create a presentation. So I'll create a new variable called PRS equal to presentation. Okay, so once we do that, we can also define two variables, width and height, which are going to be the dimensions of our slides. So I'll do width equals to PT 920, so this will be the width of our slide, and height will be equal to PT 1080. Okay, this will be the height of our slide. So now let's create the presentation. So let's do height. So now let's do PRS dot slide width equals to width, and then PRS dot slide height equals to height. Okay, so now we create a presentation that has slides with dimension 1920 by 1080, okay, which is HD, right? And once we do that, now we can actually loop over our paragraphs and run the ChatGPT API. Let's do that. So I'll use that here. So for paragraph in paragraphs, I will run a new function that we will create called slide generator, and here I will pass each paragraph and also the presentation object. Okay, so we have the text and we have the presentation object, and this function will actually create a new slide, and we'll also use the text to create the slide content. I will create this one above here. So I'll do slide generator. Okay, def, and here I will do pass. Okay, let's also pass that. And finally, once we execute this for every paragraph, we want to save the presentation. So I will do PRS dot save, and then here in the brackets you can choose the name for your presentation. And now we're all going to make a test if our presentation is actually going to get created. Okay, so I'll call it my presentation.pptx. Okay, okay, so here is the experiment that we're going to make, so we make sure that everything works. I will run the application again, okay, and I will just click the create slides button. Okay, so once I click that and I go back here, you can see that we have a new presentation, and if I open it, obviously you can see that it's completely empty, and this is because we haven't yet added any content inside. Okay, so please try that, and I'll go around and see if you're able to generate presentation. If yes, then we can continue to the next step. Okay. How's it going here? To create a photograph, you can specify the specific lens that you want your shot to be. You can specify close, long shot, and it will create. So it's pretty cool. Okay, good guys. So far everything goes well. Now, the next step is obviously the most interesting step, and this is how we're going to use the ChatGPT API and DALL-E API to create our images. Okay, so now I'm going to write code into our slide generator function. Okay, so firstly, we're going to create the functionality that modifies the text in a way that DALL-E understands it. Okay, so I'll create a variable here called prompt. Okay, and inside I write summarize the following text to a DALL-E image generation prompt. Okay, after that I write a column, a new line, and then I'll pass the text that we've got. Okay, so actually here is going to be paragraph, okay, because I name it here paragraph. Okay, so now we have the prompt. The next step is going to be to communicate with the ChatGPT API and ask it to do that. So let's do a new variable. I call it DLP. I don't know why. I think this means DALL-E prompt. Okay, so this will be equal to client dot chat dot completions dot create. Then we're gonna define our model. So let's do model equals to GPT-4. Okay, then in the messages we're just going to send one message, so I'll just do okay. So here I write row is going to be user, and then the content will be our prompt. So I will do f string and I write here prompt. Okay, so this is showing the question that we will ask ChatGPT. So for max tokens here, I think it's important that the prompt generated is not too long. So for that reason I will do max tokens equal to, for example, 100 tokens maximum that we're gonna use. Oops, here there should be comma. Okay, then let's define the temperature. It's also important. So I will do it equal to 0.8, so it's a little bit more creative, right? And that will be it. So this will be the DOP variable will hold our DALL-E prompt, and I will just extract the text from there. So I will do DALL-E underscore prompt equals to DLP dot choices at position 0 dot message dot content. Okay, so this variable now will hold the prompt that we want to send to DALL-E. Okay. Now, the next part will be to call the DALL-E API, which is going to be the new thing that you're going to learn today, right? So I will do response equals to client dot images dot generate. And now here we will generate a new image. Just like with the ChatGPT API, here you also need to specify the model. So let's do model equal, and in that case we will choose the latest version of DALL-E, which is DALL-E 3. Okay. And after that, let's do prompt equals to the DALL-E prompt that we created earlier. And also in DALL-E you can actually specify, for example, what style your image want to be, what camera lens you want to use. You can also specify like what you want your image to look like. Okay, so for this reason I will just add some style here. So my style will be digital art. Okay, I will hard code that style, but of course you can choose some other style that you want to implement. Okay, you can check actually if you write in internet like DALL-E styles, you can see different options, and you can use also those. If you are artist, you will be familiar with those, but I think they're not. Are there some artists here that are painting and things like this? No? No, okay, yeah, me neither, so I don't know them either. Okay, and once we're done with that, finally, I will just specify the size of the image. So I will do size, and the size will be the maximum size available, so it's 1024 by 1024. Okay, and that's it. So this is how your image is going to get generated. So just like we're doing with ChatGPT, also here we will need to extract the image from the response, from the DALL-E response, just in the same way. And here's how you can do that. It's also very simple. So let's create a new variable called image underscore URL. And we're gonna get that from the response. So response dot data at position 0 dot URL. And this is how you have the URL of your image. So now here I will just write a comment that this is the image that we will use. So here is slide image. We're gonna use that later to pass it to our presentation. Okay. Now, the next job that we need to do is to create the slide header or the slide title, and maybe create some bullet points, right? So normally when you create a presentation, the main things that you have on your slide are image, bullet points, and you also have some header. So this is what we want to do next, and for this we're also going to use AI. So because I don't want to write the same thing over and over again, I will actually copy those lines here, so the DLP, and with it I will create our title and bullet points. Actually I will also copy the prompt as well. So let's copy all that, and now under the image URL I will paste it. Okay, so obviously we need to modify it a little bit. Now here I will modify this to create a title for PowerPoint slide from the following text, and then we're passing the paragraph. So once we do that, so actually this variable will call it ppt, okay, all right, and here I will do ppt. Actually, let's first modify that, okay, even though I don't think we need to do much modifications. So our model is going to be the same, the message we already modified. Hello. Yeah, we have a little more. What? Yeah, I understood it. Okay. Okay. So here you don't need to do much modifications. The only thing I will modify is the number of tokens we use. So I will do 1024 tokens. Actually, you know what? For title, we might not need that many. Let's do just 100 still. Okay. So now, under it, I will copy this variable right here, the DALL-E prompt variable, and I will just modify it. So let's do ppt underscore header equals to ppt choices message content. Okay, so here we have our header, and I write a comment slide header. Okay, how is it going? Am I going too fast or too fast? Okay, I'll sure I'll wait a bit, no problem. So add just 2 lines here for test, so I can test the application if it works so far, and maybe you can do the same thing. So, you know, once you run it, you should be able, even before creating the presentation, to see the header and the image URL. Okay, I will just run that, and then I will go around just to make sure everything works. So let's see. Now here, let's go back to our climate change text, and I will just pass one paragraph for test, and I will do create slides. Okay. So no errors so far. Still processing, as you can see. Okay, so you can see that so far everything looks good. So we created the header for our slide, and we also have URL to the image that was generated. Okay, so if I click here, this would be the image that was generated by the AI, okay, related to the climate change. And the next steps, of course, would be to place this image into our presentation. That's good.
Can you just scroll down just a little bit? I can't see.
So down is just the print statements, right? Here where I'm testing the app. Do you want to see? I think you had this code here, right? Where we create a presentation. I think you had that. Or I will show you the option on my presentation where you just press one button and magically everything is good. Okay. Well, so as some of you suggested, this is very good for creating presentations, right? So if you have some text, you can create presentation for yourself. Of course, the only disadvantage I would say is that you're getting charged for those images normally. Okay, so let's say when you create account, first you're gonna have some allowance, but after that, probably they are going to charge you. If you actually want to implement this for your presentations, I think you can also reduce the quality of the image, which in some cases might be very beneficial. And so since you have lower quality, I think they will charge you less from OpenAI. Okay? But yeah, this is the only disadvantage. Other than this, yeah.
Can you show us how to so you can use DALL-E to set up to make not just create images but it could also set up PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
So how would you use it to create a PowerPoint from OpenAI.com? Just go on the website and
if you don't use the code, or
no, without the code, yeah.
So without the code, you need to go to OpenAI. I can show you. So if I write DALL-E, you can choose DALL-E 2, DALL-E 3, it doesn't matter. Okay, and then you will go to let me see where it is. Oh, I actually think that DALL-E, that's good. So I think DALL-E 3 still doesn't have user version, but DALL-E 2 has. So if I go here, you see I can just write a prompt and it will generate me image, and then I can download this image. And once you download it, then you can manually create the image if you don't have the Python code for anything.
To clarify my question, so would I need to make my own API key?
No, for this, no. No. You just register and you write something here, okay? And then you can download it. I mean, I think in the beginning you will be able to create, pictures, and at some point they will tell you, okay, your free credit finish, please pay for images. For example, here I have 38 more to create, for instance. Okay, so this is the way that most of the people use this type of AI, not through code. Is it answering the question or not so much?
Well, my question was if I wanted to use for this project, this presentation, if I wanted to actually create my own, can OpenAI actually create PowerPoints for me?
Oh no.
Oh,
no.
That would be cool.
Yes, but this is so. With the images and the text, imagine how many different type of applications you can create when you integrate them with some different applications, right? OpenAI, they don't want to focus on creating specific applications, right? The different companies are going to use their API, so they focus on the API, and the other companies focus on the presentations. Okay, so they are probably third-party companies that are providing the service. Okay, that maybe you can go on their website and do that.
Like Microsoft, you said that's what Microsoft was doing. They were doing their own thing.
Yeah.
With OpenAI, I think you told me.
Yeah. So they had their own AI to create presentations. I think for this you need you had to have like Microsoft account. Like if you work for any company, they give you Microsoft account, and from there you have an option when you create presentations on the cloud. You have the option create presentation from text, and you can do that. But it was very bad. The presentation very outdated. The text was not very accurate, and so on.
So if I use my student email, because I know my student email,
Yeah, that should work.
well, like I just want to play around.
Yeah.
I know because I'm looking at these images. These images are not good either. Well, it's AI because I put a basketball. It didn't even give me a correct image of a basketball.
Right.
Well, it gave me a very close image, but the lines were incorrect. It gave me like.
Oh yeah, of course, it's AI. So,
Really cool.
of course, so the one on the Microsoft, it actually doesn't generate images, right? There, it simply takes the text, takes bullet points and headers, and create a different slides. It doesn't generate you images, right? It has the presentation design and so on, but the thing that it does, it just generates text. You don't have images on the slides.
That's actually not bad.
I mean, in some cases.
Then you can just go online and find the images and you caption the images.
True. You can do that. That's for sure. But of course, if you want to do the presentation completely automated, you need the image to get automatically generated, which is going to be a problem if you care about this, of course. Or you can just find image and put it there. Yes, correct.
My question is, can I use an automated to automate my presentation for this class or no?
Well, I would say don't use it.
Don't use
Yeah. So first of all, it's not going to be that good. It's not going to be. The designs are very outdated. I don't think you will like them. Okay. Also, the text is not going to be synthesized very good as well. And I think in the end you still need to do some modifications. I mean, on your place, I would just go to PowerPoint, pick up some of the designs that already exist.
like the templates?
Yeah, the templates, and just create like 15 slides or something like this with bullet points. You can use ChatGPT to create you the bullet points if you want. This is what I would do. Okay, so guys, once we verified that we can generate the image and the header, I will show you how you can add all this into your slides and to create slides from this. Okay, so until here we have the header, we have the image, and the next thing is we're going to generate the bullet points. So to do that, again, I'm going to copy all this. Okay. And after that, I will just modify it so I generate the bullet points. Okay. So firstly, here in the prompt, I will write create a bullet point text for a PowerPoint slide from the following text. Okay. Then here I will add more tokens since we want to generate bullet points. So I add 1024 tokens as the maximum tokens. And finally, I will just modify the name of the variable. So here we have bullet points, and here I write PPT text. Okay, so this variable will hold the text for our slide. Now, once we did that, the next thing will be to generate the slides. Now we have all the pieces of information that we need for creating the presentation, passing the image, generating our slides. So let's do that. Firstly, I'm going to create a slide. So let's do slide equals to PRS, which is our presentation, dot slides dot add slide, and here I write presentation dot slide layouts 1. So I think we have different presentation layouts. Of course, if you want to dig a little bit more into this application, you can create some specific layout or template for your presentation. I don't know how many are in this list. So let's say if you write 2, it's going to be a slightly different layout for your slide. Okay. Now, and here we created already the slide. So now the first step would be to put our image in the slide. Okay. So I will do response would be equal to requests dot get image URL. Now, in this line here, what I'm doing is I'm using the requests library to get the image from the URL that we already have. So we can have the image inside the code, but not only the URL. Once we have the image, we need to break the image into bytes and then pass it to the presentation. So I will do img underscore bytes equals to bytes io response dot content. Okay, so the image that we've got in the response, we're breaking it to bytes here in this line. Then let's add it to our presentation. So I will do slide dot shapes dot add picture, and here I will pass the image bytes, and also I will use the inches library to size the image. So I will just do inches 1. So we're gonna put the original size pretty much. Okay, and we're done. Our image is now inside the slide. So the next thing that we need to do is simply to add the text fields, and we're done. So I will do now tx box equals to slide dot shapes dot add text box. Okay, and here again I'm going to use the inches library to size that. So I will do inches 3 inches 1, so 3 by 1, then inches 4, and let's do inches 1.5. Okay, so if you explore the inches library, then this is the way, somebody asked me, this is the way that you can actually size your element and put it like on the right location. So you can do this with the inches library, and also if you want your presentation to have a specific layout, you can do that with slide layouts. Actually, here I did a typo, so it's layouts. Okay, so this is how you can add further style to your presentation. Okay, now we created the text box. Now let's add it. So I will do tf equals tx box dot text frame. Okay, and then I will do tf dot text equals to the PPT text. Okay, so we create a text box, we sized it, we said that inside our text box we will have a text frame, and inside this text frame we added our text, which is the bullet points right here. Okay, now once we're done with that, we can add a title. So let's do title shape equals to slide dot shapes dot title, and then I will do title shape dot text equals to PPT header. And here in the same way, we are creating a title, and then we put our PowerPoint header inside our title field. So you can see that the idea here is, I will just go over the function and I will move down if somebody needs to still write something. So you can see how this function goes. It takes the paragraph and it takes the presentation. Then we want to collect the AI information. Those are the first steps. So we collect the image in those lines right here. Then we collect the header, and then we collect the bullet points. Once we collect everything, we pass the image. So we break the image into bytes and we pass it into the presentation. We create two text fields. In one of them we add the bullet points, and in the other one we add the header. Okay. Does anyone need to write something more, or should I test the code? All set? Okay. I will just do a quick check if I did a typo. Maybe you can also check here if there is any typo.
So,
Yep.
I mean, this could be like an additional feature, but say like you save a PowerPoint
Okay.
and the code detects that there's already that PowerPoint in there. Like, can it save multiple?
Yeah, of course. It can. You just need to find a way, to change the name, right? So for example, a very simple way to change the name is if you add a timestamp in the name. So let's say I want to save this presentation here. I'm just giving you options that come on the top of my mind. So first way to save multiple presentations is here you add an f string and you have the time Python library that gives you the current time, and you can get the time here. Let's say you can create a variable time, get a timestamp, and simply pass it after the name of the file. Okay, so here you have some time. This is one way. That way, every presentation will have a unique name. Another way is to create another field in your application front end, and there you can specify the name of the presentation and simply pass the parameter right here in the name. So those are like two solutions. You understand what I mean? Oh, good. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. So I'm going to run the application. I know that some of you already tried it, and then I will show you how I have a PowerPoint, which is, I think, some of the latest, and I will show you how you can position the elements even though your application doesn't do that. Okay, so let's run the application, and I will just test it firstly with some very small text, so if something doesn't work we don't waste time. So I will just do one paragraph. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I know that most of you got something like this, like everything overlapping. So one way to do that is if you have a designer in your PowerPoint right here, you can see if you click on designer, PowerPoint will use your elements to put them on the right places. For example, if I click this, you can see that all the elements are positioned and you have a perfect slide. Here it is. Okay, of course it's not perfect. For example, those quotes here, you can find a way to remove them from the response. You can also ask for smaller bullet points if you want. You can limit the number of tokens for the bullet points and so on. But you can see that once it's generated, you can actually position the elements fairly easily with the PowerPoint features. Okay. Another thing to pay attention, of course, when you generated the image, here you can add additional instructions. So you get images to the style that you actually want your presentation to have. Okay, so for example, if I write here style cartoon, let's see what's gonna happen. Can you give me another topic? So we do something different than climate change. Any other topic? Okay, I'll have to make something up. Let's see. Okay.
Let's do Super Bowl.
Super Bowl?
General elections. Politics. General elections.
Elections? Okay. Maybe it can give me this text is not appropriate or something like this, an error, right? So we'll see.
Give some places like which places like who is winning the charts, right? The majority, which government got the highest votes.
So
Statistics.
statistics? I wonder what is going to be that. Let's see. Oh, you mean election statistics or just statistics?
Yeah, election statistics.
Oh, election statistics. Let's see. But what text can we use for that? Let's see some. Okay, election day statistics. Of course, it's not gonna give accurate statistics because it's not up to date. But let's get some article and see what's gonna give us. Okay, so I will just get this text. I think the chances to give us something completely different here are very high. Okay, I will also combine some of the paragraphs, so we create less images. And also, let's see. But I'm pretty sure it might be an error here because, for example, when we use names, DALL-E might say you cannot use names, right? So let's see if it doesn't work. We pick another topic. Okay, so I run it. Have you tried some different topics, guys? What have you tried so far? Have you tried something yet, or
I'm having
you have an error?
I'm having a couple errors.
Okay, I will.
I tried something.
So see, as I suggested, is giving us error that this text is not appropriate because you cannot ask for famous people, because imagine you generate the face of the Trump, right? It's not very nice. Or of Biden or whatever.
I tried it. It's working.
It's working?
Yeah.
Did it create you some famous person, or?
Yeah, I tried one person, but it's giving different image.
Ah, okay, yes. I mean, sometimes you can like trick it,
Yeah.
but not always. Okay, something more generic. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, let's see.
You can try. Martin, you can check out like gym workouts.
The what? Sorry?
The
Gym workouts.
Gym?
Workouts.
Ah, gym workouts. Okay.
Yeah.
Gym workouts. Let's see. Let's do week. It's working, yes. Okay, so let's say we want to create a presentation for different exercises, right? Okay, here is the one. Here's a second one. Let's choose this one and let's take this one. Okay, so what we have here, leg press, right? Then what's that? Squat exercise. Yeah, I think the first few paragraphs I wrote were about squats. So I think those look pretty nice, right? So you can see in some scenarios actually we're getting nice pictures. Like it's really visual if you want to create an exercise for a presentation for that. I mean, of course, because it's AI generated, if you look closely, you're going to see some things that are not that perfect. But when you visually see it, like on a first glance, you cannot really say the difference, right? Okay, let's see the.
I think it worked.
It worked.
Let me try it again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, write text and on some topic and try it out and let's see. Okay. So that's everything, guys. Actually, for today. How was the project? Did you like it? You learned something new, right? Okay, that's good. So I told you last time about the new API Sora. I mean the new technology Sora. So actually, some background. Firstly, they created DALL-E to generate images, and then based on DALL-E from those images, they started generating the Sora videos, right? So this was pretty much the first step what they did. And like this. Yeah, so this is the whole project. Do you have any questions? Something that didn't work? Some questions for maybe how you can use the application or if we can improve it in some way? No? Okay. Okay. How did it go here?
Yeah, I didn't. Let me try it out again.
Did it generate something?
It didn't generate, it just popped up.
Okay, run it and let's see if you get an error. Okay. Okay, so as I said, next week, don't make the mistake to come to the lecture. There's not going to be anyone here. You have a spring break, relax, prepare, because we're going to be pretty busy after the spring break. We're going to have the presentations, 2 assignments after that, and so on. So rest good, and then I'm going to see you after that, okay? So yeah, that's all from today. You're free to go or ask questions or whatever.